शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to this beginning of the fourth canto, right? Good. You have successfully finished 3 cantos? Or third yet to be finished? How much you finished? Achha, the last ones. Okay. That Kapil Shiksha is over. Okay, and with I've been told to take this section. So from 1 to 7. 7 chapters is the first section. Okay, so chapter 1, genealogical table of the daughters of Manu. Prabhu, you can connect this. Okay, let's recite the first verse. Maitreya vacha manostu shatarupayam tisra kanyascha jajnire akuti devahutischa prasutir iti vishrutaha. Sri Maitreya said, Swayambhu Manu begot 3 daughters in his wife Shatarupa, and their names were Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. Purport. First of all, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master. Om Vishnupad Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, by whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task of writing commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam as the Bhaktivedanta purports. By his grace, we have finished 3 cantos already, and we are just trying to begin the 4th canto. By his divine grace, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya, who began this Krishna Consciousness movement of Bhagavad Dharma 500 years ago, and through his grace, let us offer our obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, and then let us offer our obeisances to Radha and Krishna, the spiritual couple who enjoy eternally in Vrindavan with their cowherd boys and damsels in Brajabhumi. Let us also offer our respectful obeisances to all the devotees and eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord. In this 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 31 chapters, and all these chapters describe the secondary creation by Brahma and the Manus. The Supreme Lord himself does the real creation by agitating his material energy, and then by his order, Brahma, the first living creature in the universe, attempts to create the different planetary systems and their inhabitants, expanding the population through his progeny like Manu and other progenitors of living entities, who work perpetually under the order of the Supreme Lord. In the first chapter of this 4th canto, there are descriptions of the 3 daughters of Swayambhu Manu and their descendants. The next 6 chapters describe the sacrifice performed by King Daksha and how it was spoilt. Thereafter, the activities of Maharaj Dhruva are described in 5 chapters. Then in 11 chapters, the activities of King Prithu are described, and the next 8 chapters are devoted to the activities of the Pracheta kings. As described in the first verse of this chapter, Swayambhu Manu had 3 daughters named Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. Of these 3 daughters, one daughter, Devahuti, has already been described, along with her husband Karda Muni and her son Kapila Muni. In this chapter, the descendants of the first daughter, Akuti, will specifically be described. Swayambhu Manu was the son of Brahma. Brahma had many other sons, but Manu's name is specifically mentioned first because he was a great devotee of the Lord. In this verse, there is also the word cha, indicating that besides the 3 daughters mentioned, Swayambhu Manu also had 2 sons. So here, right in the beginning of the 4th canto, we can see Srila Prabhupada's wonderful mood, his consciousness as he is giving the Bhaktivedanta purports. And so he says, first of all, let us offer. So he's not offering himself. Let us offer. So it's meant for all the readers. Let us offer. So he's offering obeisances to his spiritual master, by whose order I am engaged. So, that was Srila Prabhupada's constant mood and mission, which he repeats very often in his lectures as well. And that is, we need to follow the order. So everything needs to be done according to the order, according to instructions. That's how one gets empowerment. So if one does things whimsically, then no empowerment. So therefore, the order is something which is very important. And Srila Prabhupada would often say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given all of us an order. What is that? Yes. Prithvidya Chaitanagradigram Sarvatra Prachar Hobe Mora Naam. No, sorry, that's not the... No. Jare Dego Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh Amar Agya Guru Hoi Tara Edesh. So Agya means order. So that was Mahaprabhu's order for everyone. So everyone preached the message. Whose message? Krishna Upadesh. And Prabhupada, when he spoke that verse, he would often say, don't give your Upadesh. Repeat Krishna's Upadesh. So this is a common order, instruction which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given for everyone. And that is what we all are supposed to do according to our capacity. But of course, Srila Prabhupada received that specific instruction from his spiritual master. And so therefore he says, I am engaged in this Herculean task. So Srila Prabhupada, he accepts that this is a very difficult task. And therefore we find that Srila Prabhupada was always in the mood of getting the mercy to perform this very difficult task. The instructions which he received, two main instructions. One is to preach the message of Krishna consciousness in the English language in the Western world. And second is, to write books. So, and therefore we find Srila Prabhupada always very humbly considered himself unqualified to execute these instructions. And therefore we find that he was always in the mood of depending on the mercy of the Lord and the previous acharyas. And this we find as a constant mood in the lives of all the acharyas, not only that of Srila Prabhupada. But in Srila Prabhupada's life we find that in order to attract that mercy, then we find Srila Prabhupada, he stayed at Radha Damodar temple for one of the prime reasons being to attract the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, especially Srila Rupa Goswami. So, I'm sure many of you have heard the pastime of Srila Prabhupada cleaning the area in front of Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi every morning, early in the morning. In the dark hours of the morning, Srila Prabhupada would clean and weep and pray for the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. So, he felt himself so helpless. And then later on we find that how before going to America, he went to Shantipur. Of course, he went to Shantipur even before that, even as a grihastha. He went there to beg for the mercy of Srila Advaita Acharya. And then he did that even later on. And then before going, he also went to the Samadhi of his spiritual master at Mayapur. So we find that that's the constant mood of the Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada illustrates this principle right in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Anybody knows in what context? Okay, I'll give one hint. Who's on Arjuna's flag? Ah. So now what's the Siddhanta there?
The flag of Hanuman is sitting visibly, is doing artificially.
Mm-hmm.
Guru is doing acharya.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Somebody else?
Hanuman who fought in the battle and was victorious on the outside. Now he is currently with Arjuna and Krishna is also with
Okay. So Srila Prabhupada gives lectures on almost every verse of that first chapter in London.
He says he's following the fighting acharya.
Yes, that's right. So Srila Prabhupada on lecture in the verse says that, so here Arjuna is begging for blessings from the previous fighting acharya, Hanuman. And so Srila Prabhupada says that this is a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava feels himself helpless without the mercy of the previous acharyas. And that same mood is also exhibited by all the acharyas. We find this again in the second canto, fourth chapter of the Bhagavatam. What is there? Second canto, fourth chapter.
Prayers where Sud Goswami is offering to Shukdev Goswami.
Prayers, whose prayers?
Sud Goswami, Shukdev Goswami offering prayers
To whom?
to all the Lord and his Guru Vyasdev.
Yes. So we find there that after Parikshit Maharaj asked questions, then Shukdev Goswami, before answering those questions, first of all offers series of prayers, begging for the mercy of the Supreme Lord in order to be able to answer the questions. And there, specifically, almost towards the end of those prayers, Shukdev Goswami, he prays to the Supreme Lord, "My dear Lord, just like you have entered into the various elements, so similarly, please enter into my words and decorate those words." So even Shukdev Goswami is praying. And then again in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the sixth verse of the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we find that there Srila Rupa Goswami, he is also praying for the mercy of the previous acharyas, the Supreme Lord. And there also Srila Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion that, he says, all the preachers of the Krishna Consciousness movement should think themselves simply as instruments in the hands of the previous acharyas. So, a Vaishnava is never proud. Vaishnava never thinks, on my own I can do. On my own I can preach. No. So the more one feels this dependence on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, the more one will attract the mercy. If one becomes proud and one thinks I can do on one's own, then Krishna will say, okay, do on your own. Then how much ability we have? 1/10,000 tip of the hair, that much ability. So therefore, we find that this is a constant factor amongst all the Vaishnava acharyas. And this is what we need to emulate and feel that dependence. And so if you feel that dependence, then one will remain humble. And the humility will attract more grace. If one thinks, I can do on one's own, on my own, then that does not attract the mercy. So more one feels dependent, more one receives. You may recollect the pastime of Srila Prabhupada going on the morning walk, and there was a pond, and there were... then what happens? Yes, the child which was crying the loudest receives more food from the mother, because there is desperate need. So, this is a very important Siddhanta, and so therefore our practices in Krishna consciousness should be to attract that grace. Act in ways by which we can attract the grace. And that is the only way one can overcome the obstacles in devotional service. Two references for this. One is Krishna himself speaking in the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 58th verse. What is that? Matchitta sarvadurgani mat prasada tarishyasi. So if you think about me, then you attract mercy, and then by my mercy you'll be able to cross over the obstacles. Sarvadurgani tarishyasi. So that is the only way. And the same point is repeated by Srila Prabhupada in the purport to 1 to 17 Bhagavatam. What is that? 1 to 17, famous verse. Previous to that. What is previous to that? Shrunatam Sukada Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasthoya Badhrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. When Krishna sees that somebody is very sincere to hear about him, then Krishna does the cleansing work. In that purport, twice Srila Prabhupada in that purport repeats the point. He writes that well-known famous statement, women and wealth are great obstacles on the path of a transcendentalist, and great stalwarts have fallen victims to these allurements. But the only way one can overcome these obstacles is the grace of the Supreme Lord. Twice Prabhupada repeats that point. And so therefore, this dependence on the Lord's grace is very important. And if we feel that dependence, then we maintain humility, then one acts in proper ways to attract the grace. These are all very important principles, which the acharyas are teaching us through their own example. And if we follow in their footsteps, then so many of our challenges and obstacles in our own practice of devotional service can be solved. And then we can also help so many others in their practice of devotional service. Otherwise, we'll simply create problems for oneself and problems for others. So, we can see Srila Prabhupada's wonderful mood right here in the first paragraph of this first purport. Okay. Fine. So already Devhuti has been described in the previous canto. So Devhuti was married to Karda Muni. And how many children they had? How many children? 10. How many sons, how many daughters? 9. 9? Yes, 9 daughters, 1 son. And the 9 daughters were married to the great rishis who were mostly the sons of Brahma. And the one son was Kapil. So that has already been described. So now Shukdev Goswami is describing about the other daughter of Swayambhu Manu, that is Akuti. Okay, let's proceed. Second verse. Akutim rujaye bradad api bhratrimatim ripaha putrika dharmam ashritya shatarupānumoditaha. Akuti had 2 brothers, but in spite of her brothers, King Swayambhu Manu handed her over to Prajapati Ruchi on the condition that the son born of her be returned to Manu as his son. This he did in consultation with his wife Shatarupa. Okay, please read the purport.
Sometimes a sonless person offers his daughter to a husband on the condition that his grandson be returned to him to be adopted as his son and inherit his property. This is called Putrika Dharma, which means that by execution of religious rituals one gets a son, although one is sonless by one's own wife. But here we see extraordinary behavior in Manu, for in spite of having 2 sons, he handed over his first daughter to Prajapati Ruchi on the condition that the son born of his daughter be returned to him as his son. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that King Manu knew that the Supreme Personality of Godhead would take birth in the womb of Akuti. Therefore, in spite of having 2 sons, he wanted the particular son born of Akuti, because he was ambitious to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear as his son and grandson. Manu is the lawgiver of mankind, and since he personally executed the Putrika Dharma, we may accept that such a system may be adopted by mankind also. Thus, even though one has a son, if one wants to have a particular son from one's daughter, one may give one's daughter in charity on that condition. That is the opinion of Srila Jiva Goswami.
So how did Manu know that some avatar would be born to Akuti?
Ruchi was so powerful.
So what? So there were so many sages. So that is Manu's quality of omniscience. So Manu is also not an ordinary person. So he knows what's going to happen in the future. So therefore he knew that the son born to Akuti and Ruchi would be an avatar of the Supreme Lord. And so therefore he was eager to serve. He didn't want some popularity. The reason was he wanted to serve the Supreme Lord who is going to come as the son of Akuti. And so therefore he put that condition that the grandson must be returned to him. Okay? So it's not that he wanted more sons, he already had 2. Who were they? Yes, Priyavrat and Uttanapad. But the reason why he wanted this grandson back is because he wanted to serve.
Because her mother, his daughter's son, daughter would be more blessed.
So anyway, the only thing we can understand is he wants to serve. Okay.
I thought there is some comment.
No, there's no commentary. So that's what we can understand, that the great devotee is always eager to serve. In one sense it is selfishness, but it is good selfishness. Eager to serve more is good, right? Okay. Third. Okay, now I think so you all can read the translations. Now we'll go a little fast now. Read translation third.
Ruchi, who was very powerful in his Brahmanical qualifications and was appointed one of the progenitors of the living entities, begot one son and one daughter by his wife Akuti.
Okay, so one son and one daughter. Prabhupada is focusing on this word Brahma Varchasvi, spiritually very powerful. So Ruchi was a Brahmana and executed the Brahmanical duties very rigidly. So Prabhupada is focusing on Brahmanical qualities and Brahma Bandhu and all those things. So we are aware of these things. One statement Prabhupada writes somewhere in the middle of the purport. The Vedic literatures cannot be understood unless one has developed the Brahmanical qualifications. The Vedic literature cannot be understood unless one has developed the Brahmanical qualifications. It is regrettable, therefore, that persons of no Brahmanical qualifications and never been trained under a bona fide spiritual master nevertheless comment on Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas. For such persons cannot deliver their real message. Ruchi was considered a first-class Brahmana, therefore is mentioned here as Brahma Varchasvi, one who had full prowess in Brahmanical strength. So that's the qualification required to understand the Shastra. What? Brahmanical qualifications. Why? Why?
Brahmana in Sattva-guna.
Okay, Brahmana is in Sattva-guna, so how does it help?
Sattva Sanjayate Jnana.
Good, yes. Sattva Sanjayate Jnanam. So can you explain a little more on how Sattva-guna helps to understand the Shastras? Somebody else wants to add something? Who's online? Vilaswadan Pravan? Kaun?
Pandurang Sharandas.
Pandurang Sharandas. Only two? Okay. Fine. Okay, some other points on how Sattva-guna helps to understand the Shastras? Bolo. Okay, the symptoms of Sattva-guna knowledge, that's correct. But how does Sattva-guna help in, here Prabhupada is writing, right? To understand the Vedic literatures, how Sattva-guna helps? What's the philosophy? If somebody asks, you should be able to explain, no? Otherwise you'll only say it's there in Prabhupada books, that's all right. But Prabhupada has explained that also. So we should be able to explain everything. He becomes joyful, okay. So when one is joyful, one can understand the scriptures.
He can practice.
Bolo, ek jan bolo,
In joyful mode, he can practice.
Okay, that's also correct, okay, fine. Anarthas will be less in Sattva-guna. Why?
He's free from
Correct point, yes. Free from?
karma and krodha.
Correct. Yes. So, okay, very good point. So, by Sattva-guna, sinful activities will reduce. Okay, so now quote a verse from Bhagavad Gita, which is relating the two. Yes, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante ma dhridavrata. So dhridavrata, determination develops when? Yesham tvantagatam papam. When sinful activities reduce, Sattva-guna increases, punya increases. I was just hearing a lecture of Prabhupada, where Prabhupada is explaining this verse, and in that particular lecture at least, Srila Prabhupada is explaining, what is punya karmanam? He says punya karmanam is yajna dana tapa. Yajna dana tapa. In the 18th chapter, 4th verse he says, right? Krishna says, yes, pavanani manishana. So in any case, so that's one point, yes. But when one is in sattva, then less sinful activities, more punya, then one can practice devotional service with great determination. I'm looking for one more point, which comes in the first canto of the Bhagavatam.
Brahmanical qualities is very clear to Lord. So necessarily Lord bestows in the understanding of the scripture.
Okay, that point is also correct. Okay. Okay, one is in sattva, one becomes dear to the Lord, and therefore one can understand. Okay, fine. Dadami buddhi yoga. Okay, that's also correct. बोलो पांडुरंग प्रभु है कि नहीं?
Guruji, one more thing. In Sattva Guna, we can see the things as they are.
Okay, one can see things as they are.
In passion and other things, we are driven away by the moods too much. In this, then to put faith in the scriptures also becomes easy. Otherwise, in passion and ignorance, because of mind being too much attached to lower things, very difficult to put faith on this.
Okay, that was correct. So, in the last verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, I suppose that's the 44th verse. So there, Sudha Goswami says that I heard the message spoken by Shukdev Goswami with rapt attention. And there Srila Prabhupada explains how one can develop that rapt attention. So, he explains, who can have rapt attention? Only one who is purified in mind. Only he can have rapt attention. And who can have purified minds? One who is purified in his eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So, the purified mind means what? Less rajas and tamas, more sattva. That is purification. So we all have experienced when we are influenced by rajas and tamas, then in tamagun what happens? So that is tamogun. And rajagun? Minds. What happens? Yes, mind wandering. Mind is not able to focus. So rajas and tamas don't allow the mind to focus. Therefore, more the sattva increases, more one can hear with rapt attention. One will be able to focus when there is more sattva. Rajas and tamas don't allow the mind to focus. And therefore we are seeing as Kali Yuga is progressing and rajas and tamas are becoming more and more prominent, then no attention span. People are not able to focus these days. No focus. Therefore nowadays they say, okay, make videos as short as possible, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Finish. Correct? No attention span. People have no sattva to be patient and sit and hear. Again in the 1st canto, 15th chapter, in one of the verses, Nissatvan, one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, Nissatvan, no sattva, no patience. So, when there is no sattva, one cannot focus. One cannot have that rapt attention. And that's the reason why in the previous days, no books, all were Shrutidhar. Simply by hearing once they could remember. Why? Attention, absorption, more sattva. So that is why more the sattva, more the Brahmanical qualifications, the more one can focus, have attention and absorb. And therefore, then the entire lifestyle needs to be in sattva. And therefore we find in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking about so many things in 3 modes, correct? Food in 3 modes, charity in 3 modes, sacrifice in 3 modes, knowledge in 3 modes, work in 3 modes, so many things. Why? So that we modify our life in such a way that sattva will increase. Then it will become easier to understand the scriptures. And of course, when we talk about understanding, it does not refer to a theoretical understanding, it refers to realized knowledge. And therefore we find in the Vedic times, they would teach the scriptures only to whom? Yes, Brahmanas. And of course, in the previous ages, because everyone would follow sanskaras, then a son of a Brahmana would naturally have Brahmanical qualities. But still, even if one is not the son of a Brahmana, if he had the Brahmanical qualifications, then he became qualified. Who is the example for this?
Satyakam.
Yes, Satyakam. You heard of Satyakam, right? So his guru was? Who was his guru? Gautam Rishi. So he went to Gautam Rishi and then what happened? You know the story, right? What happened? Who's your father? Then?
He asked his brother and we don't know. And he told as it is.
Truth, yes. So he was not born in a Brahmana family, but he had Brahmanical qualifications. And therefore here you can see Prabhupada specifically what he's writing. The Vedic literatures cannot be understood unless one has developed Brahmanical qualifications, not based on births, but the qualifications one should have. Okay, so anyway, that's what Prabhupada is focusing here. So this Ruchi and Akuti, they had one son and one daughter. Okay, go ahead, next. Everyone read two translations. Read 2.
Of the 2 children born of Akuti, the male child was directly an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his name was Yajna, which is another name of Lord Vishnu. The female child was a partial incarnation of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu.
Right, so one was expansion of Lord Vishnu, another was expansion of Lakshmi. Okay, next.
5.
Solomon very gladly brought home beautiful boy named Yajna and Ruchi. His son-in-law kept within him the daughter of Dakshina.
Dakshina, that is the name of the daughter, Dakshina. So as per the condition, so then Ruchi handed over his son back to Swayambhu Manu and he kept the daughter named as Dakshina.
What?
Thus, just 1-2 points here. So anyway, Prabhupada is writing that Ruchi was happy to hand over the boy back to Swayambhu Manu. Prabhupada is writing one of Lord Vishnu's name is Yajna because he is the master of the Vedas. The name Yajna comes from Yajusham Pati, which means the Lord of all sacrifices. And further down, Prabhupada is quoting Yajna Tat Karmana. And then he says, it does not matter if the reaction is good or bad. If our activities are not dovetailed with the desire of the Supreme Lord, or if we do not act in Krishna consciousness, then we shall be responsible for the results of all our activities. There is always a reaction to every kind of action, but if actions are performed for yajna, there is no reaction. Right? So in this material world, both good and bad actions both are Yes, entangling. Why? Yeah, so if one performs a good action also, in a material sense, then one has to come back to this world to enjoy the good result. Yes, so therefore both are binding. Okay, next. 6.
The lord of the ritualistic performance, Vaibhav, later married Dakshina, who was anxious to have the personality of Godhead as her husband, and in this wife, the Lord was also very much pleased by beget 12 children.
12 children. Okay, so anyway, so they are eternal husband and wife. Of course, in this Leela, they are brother and sister. But in any case, so this is Leela of the Lord. They got married and they had 12 children. Of course, some things cannot be imitated. So, here Prabhupada is talking about happy husband-wife relationship. So one has to follow in the footsteps of Lakshmi Narayan. In the Chanakya Shloka, the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, it is said that if a husband and wife are always satisfied with one another, then the goddess of fortune automatically comes. So if both husband and wife are satisfied, in another purport, I think so you must have read this, it comes in the 3rd canto, in the section of Kapila and Devhuti. Kardama and Devhuti, there Srila Prabhupada writes that if there are always quarrels and fights between husband and wife, then the goddess of fortune goes away. So, no peace in the house, goddess of fortune will say, oh, I cannot stay here. She leaves. So therefore, if a husband and wife are always satisfied with one another, very difficult, isn't it? Satisfaction. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, 16th verse, one should practice satisfaction of the mind as an austerity. One of the aspects of austerity of the mind is be satisfied. As an austerity, one has to practice it. Because the mind, especially the mind which is influenced by Rajagun, never satisfied, always wants more, never satisfied. So therefore, one has to practice the austerity of satisfaction. Otherwise, Rajagun will push one to accumulate more and more material things. More wealth, more followers, more things. So if one has a small house, then bigger house and bigger house. Or vehicles, not satisfied. And sometimes it will happen even for devotees. So sometimes even devotees, I heard one devotee, every 2 years, whenever a new model of car comes, he takes. What's the need? Or it could be laptop models these days, or mobiles and so many things. So therefore, satisfaction, very important. Anyway, we could discuss so much on the topic. So, if a husband and wife are always satisfied with one another, then the goddess of fortune automatically comes. In other words, when there's no disagreement between husband and wife, can you ever even imagine such a situation? No disagreement between husband and wife. But if such a situation exists, or at least, if not no disagreement, at least less disagreement. So then what will happen? All material opulence is present and good children are born. Right? Because that means there is sattva, right? Satisfaction, no disagreement, these are symptoms of sattva. So there's more sattva between husband and wife, then more opulence and good children, so all that. And so therefore what is required is training. Generally, according to Vedic civilization, wife is trained to be satisfied in all conditions. And husband, according to the Vedic instruction, is required to please the wife with sufficient food, ornaments, clothing. That's husband's duty. So sometimes brahmacharis who get married don't understand these things. So if the brahmachari tries to remain as brahmachari after getting married and does not provide wife with all these things, then there's going to be a big problem. So therefore training is required for everyone. So it's the husband's duty to provide the wife with what? Sufficient food, ornaments, clothing, then she will be satisfied. Okay, then there'll be some peace in the house. Then if they are satisfied, see Prabhupada is repeating that point, satisfied with their mutual dealings, good children are born. Okay, so if they're satisfied, no quarrels, fighting, there's some sattva in the house, then good children are born. In this way the entire world can become peaceful, but unfortunately in this age of Kali there are no ideal husbands and wives. And therefore unwanted children are produced and there's no peace and prosperity in the present. All Varna Sankara. Okay, so now the names of the 12 boys, read.
The 12 boys born of Yajna and Dakshina were named Tosha, Pratosha, Santosha, Bhadra, Shanti, Ilaspati, Idma, Kavi, Vibhu, Swahna, Sudeva and Rochana.
Next.
During the time of Swayambhuva Manu, these sons all became the demigods collectively named the Tushitas. Marichi became the head of the 7 rishis and Yajna became the king of the demigods Indra.
Swayambhu Manu's 2 sons, Priyavrat and Uttanapat, become very powerful kings, and their sons and grandsons spread all over the 3 worlds during that period.
Next.
My dear son, Swayambhu Manu handed over his very dear daughter, Devahuti, to Kardama Muni. I have already spoken to you about them, and you have heard about them almost in full.
Next. Okay, so now Akuti is over, Devuti is over, now Prasuti.
Swayambhuva Manu handed over his daughter Prasuti to the son Brahma named Daksha, who was also one of the progenitor of the living entities. Descendants of Daksha are spread throughout the 3 worlds.
Right, so Prasuti was given to Daksha. Next.
You have already been informed about the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni, who were handed over to 9 different sages. I shall now describe the descendant of those 9 daughters. Please hear from me.
Okay, so now he is describing the 9 daughters of, yes, Devuti and Kardama Muni. So, okay, go ahead.
Kardama Muni's daughter Kala, who was married to Marichi, gave birth to 2 children whose names were Kashyapa and Purnima. Their descendants are spread all over the world.
Next.
My dear Vidur, of the 2 sons, Kashyapa and Purnima, Purnima begot 3 children, namely Viraja, Viswaga and Devakulya. Of these 3, Devakulya was the water which washed the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead and which later on transformed into the Ganges of the heavenly planets.
Okay, online. Achha, you're remaining. Okay, read.
Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, gave birth to 3 very famous sons, Soma, Dattatreya and Durvasa, who were partial representatives of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma, Dattatreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, and Durvasa was a partial representation of Lord Shiva.
Okay, so I would just like to read this commentary of Vishnu Thakur on the 8th and 9th verses. So, which says that these Tushitas, what's 8th and 9th verse translation?
during the time of Swayambhuva Manu, these sons all became the demigods, collectively named the Tushitas.
Yes, so whose sons? Whose sons? Yes, Yajna and Dakshina. So Yajna and Dakshina had 12 sons, right? So they all became Tushitas. And then it said Marichi became the head of the 7 rishis and Yajna became the Indra. Yajna became Indra. So in that connection, he's explained that instance 6 types of beings who preside during that Manvantara are described in 2 verses. It will be explained later. So in each reign, this is quoting from 12th canto, 7th chapter, text 15. In each reign of Manu, that means in each Manvantar, 6 types of personalities appear as manifestations of Lord Hari. The ruling Manu, the chief Devatas, the sons of Manu, Indra, the great sages, and the partial incarnations of the Supreme Lord. So all these are manifestations of the Supreme Lord which change during every Manvantar. So here we find that Indra, the Supreme, this Yajna, who is an incarnation of Supreme Lord, himself became Indra. Okay, fine, go ahead. So here what is being described as Kardamuni's daughters, correct? Kardamuni and Devuti's daughters, that's what is being described, isn't it?
Yeah.
The 9 daughters. So one daughter Kala was married to Marichi, that Kashyapa and Purnima. And then Anusuya. Anusuya gave birth to Soma, Dattatreya and Durvasa. This will come in...
Eighth verse, the purport. The 6 kinds of living entities generated from the demigods known as Tusitas, and from the great sage headed by Marichi, and from descendants of Yajna. Descendants of Yajna only, no? Tusitas.
During the time of Swami Manu, these sons all became demigods collectively named Tushitas. Marichi became the head of the 7 rishis. Marichi is the son of Brahma. And Yajna became the king of the demigods. What's the problem? In the purport.
During the life of Swami, 6 kinds of living entities generated from the demigods known as Tushitas, and from the sages headed by Marichi, and from descendants of Yajna.
Wait. During the life of Swayambhu Manu, 6 kinds of living entities were generated from the demigods known as Tushitas, from the sages headed by Marichi, and from descendants of Yajna, king of the demigods, and all of them expanded their progeny. So, descendants of Yajna. So that means the Tushitas were like immediate sons, isn't it? The Tushitas were immediate sons. And so he's talking about further descendants.
Like from his daughter.
From those Tushitas. Further descendants.
Before Manu, Indra was not there. Before Yajna, he was the first Indra. In one sense. Because Aditi, they were all from later. So, in this sense, first Indra was Yajna.
It looks like, yes, in the Swayambhu Manvantara. Correct. Okay, fine, let's proceed. So this will be also this Dattatreya and Soma, Durvasa. These details come in some other chapter also, I think, right? So these are all, as Prabhupada writes, Prabhupada is talking about the Vibhinnamshas and Swamshas. Prabhupada is describing about these. And Prabhupada is going into those details of how many qualities and all that of the Vishnu Swamshas. So this is coming almost towards the end of the purport. Vishnu Tattva has 94%. Shiva Tattva has 84%. Lord Brahma has 78%. And the living entities are also like Brahma, but in the conditioned state their power is still more dim. There are gradations of Brahman and no one can deny this fact. Therefore the words Atmesha Brahma Sambhavan indicate that Dattatreya was directly part and parcel of Vishnu, whereas Durvasa and Soma were parts and parcels of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Right, so that's Swamshas, Vibhinnamshas. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. Okay, 16.
After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya.
Hey, wait. Online. Online read. Oh. Vilas Vadan prove.
Yes, Guruji. From here, Guruji.
16.
Okay. After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "My dear master, how is it that the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the whole creation, became the offspring of the wife of Atri Muni?"
So Vidura is asking how these three personalities became the offsprings of Atri Muni. Okay, and then Maitreya is replying. Go ahead.
Maitreya said, "When Lord Brahma ordered Atri Muni to create generations after marrying Anasuya, Atri Muni and his wife went to perform severe austerities in the valley of the mountain known as Riksha.
Okay, is there or Pandurang prove?
Yes, Roji. In that mountain valley flows a river named Nirvindya. On the bank of the river are many Ashoka trees and other plants full of Palasha flowers. And there is always the sweet sound of water flowing from the waterfall. The husband and wife reach that beautiful place.
Next.
There the great sage concentrated his mind by the yogic breathing exercise and thereby controlling all the attachment. He remained standing on one leg only, eating nothing but air, and stood there on one leg for 100 years.
One leg. Eating air. How can we eat air? Huh? Amazing. Who can do these things? 100 years. Okay, next.
He was thinking, "May the Lord of the universe, of whom I have taken shelter, kindly be pleased to offer me a son exactly like him."
So, as Prabhupada is writing here, because he is saying, "May the Lord of the universe of whom I have taken shelter, Jagadishwaraha, Sharanam tam prapadye aham ya eva Jagadishwara." So it apparently appears that he did not know who is Jagadishwara. As Prabhupada begins his purport by saying that. It appears that the great sage Atri Muni had no specific idea of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, he must have been conversant with Vedic information that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the creator of the universe from whom everything emanated, Janmadhyasya Yata, or Yato va imani bhutani. Okay, somebody can continue to read the purport. The Vedic mantras?
The Vedic mantras give us information of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Atri Muni concentrated his mind upon that Supreme Personality of Godhead, even without knowing his name, just to beg from him a child exactly on his level. This kind of devotional service, in which knowledge of the God's name is lacking, is also described in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says that 4 kinds of men with backgrounds of pious activities come to him asking for what they need. Atri Muni wanted a son exactly like the Lord, and therefore he is not supposed to have been a pure devotee, because he had a desire to be fulfilled, and that desire was material. Although he wanted a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this desire was material, because he did not want the Personality of Godhead himself, but only a child exactly like him. If he had desired the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his child, he would have been completely free of material desires, because he would have wanted the Supreme Absolute Truth. But because he wanted a similar child, his desire was material. Thus, Atri Muni cannot be counted among the pure devotees.
Okay, so he's asking for a child like the Lord, similar to the Lord. So therefore, it appears that he wanted a similar child so that he becomes famous, that his child has so many wonderful qualities and things like that. So there seems to be some material contamination in that type of desire. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada is saying that that's not pure. So he did not have that singular desire to serve the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada explains in his lectures, so among these 2 desires, to accept the Supreme Lord as a father and a son. So which is better for a devotee? Why? So if one accepts Supreme Lord as father, then what? Yes. So one goes to father always demanding, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. So therefore the desire to have the Supreme Lord as a child is good, because then child means he only takes service. So that's a desire of the pure devotee. So similarly here, so Atri Muni, he wants someone like the Supreme Lord and did not want to serve the Supreme Lord as a child. And therefore that desire is not considered as a totally pure desire. And the other point was that he was simply calling the Supreme Lord as Jagadishwara. So again, that means he does not know the name of the Supreme Lord. In one lecture, Prabhupada is saying that sometimes the Mayavadis or the impersonalists, because they don't know the exact form of the Lord and the name of the Lord, so then they simply address him as Hey Natha or Hey Paramatma and things like that. So why? Because they don't understand, they don't know the exact name. So just like here also, Jagadishwara. So that's why Atri Rishi is not being counted as a pure devotee. Okay, next, 21. So see, Krishna and Sutapa also wanted a child like the Supreme Lord. And of course, the Supreme Lord said that there's no one like me, and so he himself agreed to become. But I think so it's based on the motive. So the motive was predominantly to serve. They didn't have any other desire. Here it does not seem that Atri Muni had a similar desire to serve. Therefore, there seems to be some contamination. Okay?
While Atri Muni was engaged in these severe austerities, a blazing fire came out of his head by virtue of his breathing exercise, and that fire was seen by the 3 principal deities of the 3 worlds.
Alright, so Tapyamanam Tribhuvanam. So, okay, purport. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, the fire of pranayam is mental satisfaction. The fire of pranayam is mental satisfaction. That fire was perceived by the Supersoul Vishnu, and the Lord Brahma and Shiva also perceived it. Atri Muniva's breathing exercise concentrated on the Supersoul, or the Lord of the universe. As confirmed Bhagavad Gita, Lord of the universe is Vasudeva, Vasudeva Saramiti. And with the direction of Vasudeva, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva work. Therefore, on the direction of Vasudeva, both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva perceived the severe penance adopted by Atri Muni, and thus they were pleased to come down, as stated in the next verse. This purport is in line with Vishwanath Thakur's comment. So there also he says, the three deities saw the three worlds, fuel for his pranayam, burn up by the fire of penance coming from the sage's head. It's understood that he stood there doing pranayam. Okay. Next.
At that time, the three deities approached the hermitage of the Atri Muni, accompanied by the denizens of the heavenly planets, such as the celestial beauties, the Gandharvas, and the Siddhas, and the Vidyadharas, and the Nagas. Thus they entered the ashramas of the great sage, who had become famous by his austerity.
So, Prabhupada writes here, when one worships the Super Soul, all of the deities such as Brahma and Shiva appear with Lord Vishnu because they are directed by the Super Soul. Okay, next.
The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together that despite great difficulty, he approached them on one leg.
One leg. Next.
Therefore, he began to offer prayers to the three deities who were seated on different carriers, a bull, a swan, and Garuda, and who held in their hands a drum, kushagras, and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick.
Dandavat. Dandavat. So here Prabhupada writes, before a superior, one has to fall down on the ground just like a stick. And this sort of offering of respect is called Dandavat. So this is austerity of?
Body.
Yes, body. So Krishna says in the 17th chapter, 14th verse, Deva Dvija Guru Pragnya Pujanam. So the offering of respect to respectful personalities like the Devatas, the Brahmanas, the spiritual masters, and relatives. Prabhupada says father and mother. So offering respects to respectful personalities is austerity, because in the conditioned state, what one likes to do? Take respects. Self-respect is also okay. But one always likes to demand respect for oneself. So Srila Prabhupada did say, one should not demand respect, one should command respect. How?
By acting.
Yes, that is one of the ways, by giving respect, yes. By proper behavior. By proper behavior, one commands respect. So this is an austerity one does not like. Therefore Mahaprabhu has said, what Mahaprabhu has said? Amanina manadena. Not desiring respect for oneself, but ready to offer all respects to others. Yes. So that's an austerity, that's what Krishna is saying. But if one practices that austerity, then gradually one will like to give respect to others and not be in a mood of receiving respects. And so therefore, Srila Prabhupada in a lecture on the first verse of the 5th chapter of the 5th canto. What's the first verse of the 5th chapter, the 5th canto? Famous verse?
Nayam
So tapo devyam putraga yena satam. So in one lecture, Prabhupada has given many lectures on that verse, but in one of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada says, so the tapasya is to offer respect to others. That is also tapasya. And then Prabhupada is quoting the verse, Trinadapi Suniche. No? And then he says, so therefore, in our society, we address each other as Prabhu. And then Srila Prabhupada says, but sometimes, even though we call the other person as Prabhu, we are thinking, no, actually I am Prabhu, he is Das. But that should not be the case. One should actually feel that everyone else is Prabhu, master, I am their servant. So having this mood is an austerity, tapasya. So this is tapasya. So one needs to practice that, tapasya. And then if we practice it, then gradually the mood will develop automatically. One will get purified. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, in another lecture, Prabhupada says, so my disciples, every time they see me, they offer obeisances. Even if they see me 100 times a day, every time they see, they offer obeisances. And Shuddhagiti Prabhu tells that how when the servant would serve Srila Prabhupada chapatis, so Srila Prabhupada accepted only puffed up chapatis. That is good for digestion. Hot puffed up chapatis. That's what Srila Prabhupada wants. There are many pastimes regarding these chapatis. Anyways. So the system was, so the servant would go to the kitchen, get one hot chapati on a plate, enter Prabhupada's room, put the chapati on Prabhupada's plate, offer obeisances, go back to the kitchen, next chapati, put on the plate, offer obeisances. Every time he would bring one chapati, offer obeisances. That was system. And Srila Prabhupada never said, it's okay, don't have to do something. Now, Srila Prabhupada was teaching them the etiquettes. And that is how one develops the respect, because one does this as an austerity. Of course, one must just do it with the proper mood. So one should not do it simply mechanically. And so therefore, Dandavat Pranam is also called as? Yes, Ashtaanga. Ashtanga. So what is this? And Panchaanga, Ashtaanga. So what is this Panchaanga and Ashtanga? Name. Tell. 5 or 8 tell. And what are Ashtanga?
mind and words.
In both of them, mind and words are included. Mind and words are included. So it is not just physically offering obeisances with the angas of the body. So when one offers obeisances, so words are used. What do we say? And when you offer obeisance to deities? the pranam mantra of the particular deity. That is what we need to say. That means we are aware to whom we are offering obeisances. So one must mindfully do it. So therefore mind and words are also included in those Ashtanga and Panchanga. Not mechanically. So Shuddhagiti Prabhu tells this pastime, once there was one secretary of Srila Prabhupada. So as we know, during Srila Prabhupada's massage, what Srila Prabhupada would do?
Letter.
Yes. Secretary would read out letters by devotees and Srila Prabhupada would dictate the answers. And so, once there was one secretary who, on that particular day, he was bringing one letter at a time. So he was coming with one letter, offering obeisances, then reading out the letter, Prabhupada dictates the answer, he went. And then again he came, another letter, again offer obeisances, same thing. Like that 5-6 times it was going on. So then after some time Srila Prabhupada said, what is this hatchet obeisances? You know what's hatchet? Kullad. That means what? Mechanically offering obeisances. Mechanically offering obeisances without real respects. And Shuddhagiti Prabhu says, sure enough, this secretary of Srila Prabhupada, he left after some days. So Srila Prabhupada knew this person is mechanically offering obeisances. And once in Juhu, so Srila Prabhupada, he goes in the morning walk. So all the devotees were waiting for Srila Prabhupada to come for the morning walk around 6 a.m. And so as soon as Srila Prabhupada came, all the devotees paid obeisances. One devotee kept a little young devotee, he kept standing. He didn't offer obeisances. And Srila Prabhupada commented, this is the beginning of his fall down. So therefore, this is the culture that Srila Prabhupada has taught us and which is very essential. And that is this culture of offering respects. So that culture, that etiquette has to be maintained. Otherwise there could be disaster. Who's the example in the Bhagavatam? Somebody failed to offer respect. Okay, one was going to come now. Of course, here Shiva did not offer respect, isn't it? Indra and, yes, Brihaspati. So Indra and Brihaspati, we know how Brihaspati came, Indra didn't offer any respect. And Brihaspati just walked out. And what happened? Yes, he lost all his power. He lost all his power, then the demons attacked. Who's the other example? Who's the other example? Somebody forgot to offer respect. Okay, yes, so that was, yes, King Indradumna and Agastya Muni. Yes, so that was also the reason for him to get cursed, to become elephant. One more famous example. Somebody who lost his life. Yes, Romarshan. Yes, Romarshan lost his life because he forgot to offer respects to Balram. So therefore, one should not take these things lightly. One may have to pay a very heavy price for not offering respects. So all these are etiquettes. So even if we don't have respect, at least as an austerity one has to do it. So therefore, the etiquette is if one forgets to offer respects to a sannyasi, what one should do? Yes, you should fast for that day. So all these things are there. So so that we cultivate that respect. Why? Why this is so important? Why this cultivating that respect is so important? Okay, to have the proper mood. What else?
To receive the grace. To receive the grace.
Okay, that's a good point. Yes, to receive the grace. Yes. This actually Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to the first canto, 19th chapter. You know what's the context? First canto, 19th chapter. Tell. Shukadeva Goswami, what happened? More precise? No. So when all the great sages arrived, all the great sages arrived from all parts of the universe, they came when they heard that Maharaj Parikshit is going to give up his life. So at that time, Maharaj Parikshit, he offers his obeisances to all these great sages and saintly persons who came over there. And so in that context, Srila Prabhupada writes that so by simply bowing down at the feet of a respectable person, one can nullify the effects of offenses. That is what happens. So by offering obeisances and offering respects, one can nullify offenses, and it will also help us to avoid offenses. Okay? So one of the main reasons why we commit offenses. Yes, disrespect. That is one of the main causes. Not having the proper attitude towards the other person, that's the reason we disrespect. But if we have the proper respect, then there's not much chance of committing offenses. One is respectful. So therefore all these points are important. Yes, Prabhu? Yes, not required.
So I have seen temple.
But it is okay.
Means my point is many devotees offer sannyasi Dandavat pranam in front of deities. But understanding Shastra, if I don't offer obeisances, just I put our hand and don't offer Dandavat pranam. In that case, who is the benefactor and who is the loser and what is the...
No, see, the Shastra has to be followed. What does the Shastra say? The Shastra says that no other person should be offered respects in front of the deity. Correct? So therefore, it is not obligatory for one to offer obeisances to anybody else before the deity. At the same time, if one has is feeling a lot of respect and very naturally he bows down to a respectable personality, well, Krishna will not take so much offense because Krishna likes to see his devotees being respected. So in any case, we are doing Guru Puja in front of the deities, isn't it? When Guru Puja, we are offering respect to Srila Prabhupada and we offer obeisances, right? Right in front of the deities, and Prabhupada himself started the system.
Guru is exempted.
Right, so therefore it's not wrong. Yes, not such a serious offense. But in general, it's good to follow.
But if one doesn't offer obeisances, then it is not...
It is not an offense. Yes, because that is Shastric statement. So it's not an offense. In front of the deities, if one does not offer respects to a spiritual master or sannyasi or anyone, it's not an offense because it's Shastric. But if one does it, that is also not considered as a very big offense. Well, if the curtain is open, the deities are there. The Lord is everywhere, Baba. What you're talking about here, there? Okay. So then other point Prabhupada is talking about the different carriers. So all of them had different carriers. Vishnu had Garuda, and Brahma has swan and Shiva has bull. And they also have one specific instrument. Vishnu has Sudarshan Chakra and Brahma has Kushagras and Shiva has Damru. And so Atri Rishi recognized them. Okay, fine. 25.
Atri Muni was greatly pleased to see that the three devatas were gracious towards him. His eyes were dazzled by the effulgence of their bodies, and therefore he closed his eyes for the time being.
So they were dazzling. Prabhupada writes, since the deities were smiling, he could understand that they were pleased with him. So they were smiling. So the glaring bodily effulgence was intolerable to his eyes, so he closed them. Okay, next.
But since his heart was already attracted by the deities, somehow or other he gathered his senses, and with folded hands and sweet words he began to offer prayers to the predominating deities of the universe. The great sage Atri said, O Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, you have divided yourself into three bodies by accepting the three modes of material nature, as you did do in every millennium for the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. I offer my obeisances unto all of you and beg to inquire whom of you three I have called by my prayer.
Okay. I think so we should take a break now, isn't it? Okay, we'll take a break now and continue. Hare Krishna. Okay. So now Atri Muni is offering some prayers to Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So he's saying that so you appear for creation, maintenance, dissolution. So he only called whom? Jagadishwara. He only called one Jagadishwara. So then three Jagadishwaras have come. So he's confused. So whom did I call? I called only one, why three have come? As Prabhupada is writing, Atri Rishi called for Supreme Personality of God Jagadishvara, the Lord of the universe. The Lord must exist before the creation, otherwise how could he be its Lord? If someone constructs a big building, this indicates that he must have existed before the building was constructed. Therefore, Supreme Lord, the creator of the universe, must be transcendental to the material modes of nature. Okay, so then he's explaining about goodness, passion, ignorance, and how these three take charge of the three modes. And then, therefore, Atri Muni said that Jagadishvara, the Lord of the universe, must be one of you, but since three of you have appeared, I cannot recognize whom I have called. You're all so kind, please let me know who's actually Jagadishvara, Lord of the universe. See, this is the difference between this Atri Rishi and Devaki and Vasudeva, or as Prishni and Sutapa. So they didn't have any doubt. So they didn't have any doubt as to who is the Jagadishvara and whom they are praying to, and they didn't have any such. But this person, he doesn't even know who is the Jagadishvara. So that is why Prabhupada has written he is not a pure devotee. So he doesn't even know that. Then what to speak of having the right motives and all that. So in fact, Atri Rishi was doubtful about the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, but he was quite certain that the Lord of the universe cannot be one of the creatures created by Maya. So at least that much he knew, that the Supreme Lord cannot be influenced by Maya. So, but he was not very sure. His very inquiry about whom he had called indicates that he was in doubt about the constitutional position of the Lord. Therefore he prayed to all three, kindly let me know who is the transcendental Lord of the universe. He was certain, of course, that not all of them could be the Lord, but the Lord of the universe was one of the three. So at least that much he knew. Okay, read 28.
I called for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, desiring a son like him, and I thought of him only. But although he is far beyond the mental speculation of man, all three of you have come here. Kindly let me know how you have come, for I am greatly bewildered about this.
Okay, so yes, it's bewildered. Okay, go ahead, next one.
The great sage Maitreya continued, upon hearing Atri Muni speak in that way, the three great deities smiled, and they replied in the following sweet words.
Okay, so then so all three of them are saying, what are they saying? Deva uchu yata kritaste sankalpo bhavyam te neva nanyata sat sankalpasya te brahman yadvaidyayati te vayam.
The three deities told Atri Muni, dear Brahmana, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore we have all come to you.
Yes, so they are saying we are all the same person. We are all the same person. So how all are same? So how all of them are same? How?
Somewhere or other they are controlling the Jagat.
Yes. So of course, it is again the same principle of simultaneously one and different. So they are all same in the sense that they are all performing activities, yes, on behalf of the Supreme Lord for the purpose of the proper creation, maintenance, destruction of the universe. But at the same time, there is a difference. So as we know, there is a difference, isn't it? Vishnu is never influenced by the modes, always in Shuddha Sattva. And Brahma is? He's controlling the mode of passion. But what is his Tattva? Yes, he's Jiva Tattva. So how can he be same as Vishnu? He cannot be same. And similarly, Shiva is? Yes, that is separate, Shambhu Tattva. That's in between Jiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. So, from that point of view, there is a difference. But from the point of view of functionality, they are same. In terms of function, they are same in the sense that all of them are performing duties for the universe. But in terms of tattva, there is a difference. So therefore it is simultaneously one and different. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that so Prabhupada is explaining the birth of Vishnu, and then I'm reading the end of the first paragraph. So then under the order of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the Vishnu form within this universe, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva may also be accepted as the lords of the universe. Because, as he is explaining, so from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu there is Brahma, and then from Brahma there is Shiva, and so from that perspective they are same. Vishnu is the Lord of the universe because he is its maintainer. Similarly, Brahma creates the different planetary systems and the population, so he also may be considered Lord of the universe. Or Lord Shiva, who is ultimately the destroyer of the universe, also may be considered its Lord. Therefore, since Atri Muni did not specifically mention whom he wanted, all three, Brahma, Vishnu and Lord Shiva, came before him. They said, since you were thinking of having a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of God, the Lord of the universe, your determination will be fulfilled. In other words, one's determination is fulfilled according to the strength of one's devotion. That's a good statement. One's determination is fulfilled according to the strength of one's devotion. So that means on the basis of to whom one has devotion, on the basis of that, one's determination will be fulfilled. And then Prabhupada is quoting Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Okay, fine. Okay, let's go to the next one. 31.
You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of your potency, and because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world.
Okay, so they said you'll have sons who will represent partial manifestation of a potency. Okay, go ahead.
Thus, while the couple looked on, the three deities Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar disappeared from that place after bestowing upon Atri Muni the benediction.
Next.
Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born, and from the partial representation of Sankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira.
Okay, so that's the description of the sons of Atri and Anasuya. So that's what he has described. So now another descendant of or this. Basically, what is he describing? Yes, daughters of Kaidamuni and Devhuti, and their marriage to different rishis. Okay, go ahead.
Angira's wife Shraddha gave birth to 4 daughters named Sinivali, Kuhu, Raka, and Anumati.
Beside these 4 daughters, she also had another 2 sons. One of them was known as Utathya, and the other was the learned scholar Brahaspati.
Next.
Pulasya begot in his wife Havirbhu one son of name Agasya, who in his next birth became a Deharagni. Beside him, Pulasya begot another very great and saintly son whose name was Vishrava.
So Pulasya's son was Vishrava. Okay, next.
Vishrava had 2 wives. The first wife was Idavida.
Idavida.
Idavida. from whom Kuvera, the master of all excess, was born. And the next wife was named Kesini, from whom 3 sons were born, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana.
Okay, so you can see the ancestry of these people is very great. Pulastya. Who's Pulastya? Who's Pulas?
Grandfather of Ravana.
That's true. But who's his father?
Oh.
Brahma. So Pulastya is Brahma's son. And so therefore, Pulastya married one of these daughters of Kardama, Havirbu. And that's how there's Vishtrava, and then Vishtrava had 2 wives. So that's how, so Kuvera and Ravana, they're cousin brothers, born of these 2 wives of Vishtrava. So from one wife was Kuvera, and from another wife was Keshini, and that 3 sons. Okay, go ahead.
Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons named Karmashrestha, Variyan, and Sahishnu. And all of them were great sages.
Right, as Prabhupada writes, Gati was the 5th daughter of Kardamani. So basically he's describing all these daughters of Kardam. And basically they all married the sons of Brahma, Pulastya, Pulaha. So all these are the sons of Brahma. Okay, next.
Kratu's wife, Kriya, gave birth to 60,000 great sages named the Valhakilyas. All these sages were greatly advanced in spiritual knowledge, and their bodies were illuminated by such knowledge.
Next.
The great sage Vasishtha begot in his wife Urja, sometimes called Arundhati, 7 spotless great sages, headed by the sage named Chitraketu.
The name of these 7 sages as follows: Chitraketu, Shuruchi, Viraja, Mitra, Ulvana, Vasub, Bhadrayan, Truman. Some other very competent sons were born from the Vasishtha, other's wife.
Arundhati. Urja is also known as Arundhati. So, wife of Vasishtha was the 9th daughter of Kardama. So that's the last, 9th daughter.
Chitti, the wife of the sage Atharva, gave birth to a son named Ashwashira by accepting a great vow called Dhancha. Now you may hear from me about the descendant of the sage Bhrigu.
Okay.
The sage Bhrigu was highly fortunate. In his wife known as Khyati, he begot 2 sons named Dhata and Vidhata, and 1 daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Next.
The sage Meru had 2 daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Dhata and Vidhata. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to 2 sons, Mrikhanda and Prana.
Okay, online.
From
45.
Okay. From Mrikanda, Markandeya Muni was born, and from Prana, the sage Vedashira, whose son was Ushana Shukracharya, also known as Kavi. Thus, Kavi also belonged to the descendants of the Bhrigu dynasty. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the description of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Parasuti, married the son of Brahma named Daksha.
So that was about, till now what was going on?
Akuti.
Daughters of Kardam Muni. So whom were they married to and their descendants. So that was what. So first he described Akuti. So Akuti married Ruchi, right? And then they had, yes, Yajna and Dakshina. Then they got married and had 12 sons. So anyway, so that was one dynasty there. And then this Kardamoni and his 9 daughters, they're married too. And now he's coming to Prasuti, the 3rd daughter of Swayambhu Manu. Okay, go ahead, 48.
Daksha begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes in his wife Prasuti. Of the 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and 1 daughter was given to Agni.
Okay, so Prasuti was married to Daksha. And Daksha is? Yes, Brahma's son. So then from them came 16 daughters. And these 16, 13 were given marriage to Dharma, 1 was given to Agni. That means 2 remain, right? Okay, go ahead.
One of the remaining 2 daughters was given in charity to Pitraloka, where she resides very amicably, and the other was given to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. The names of the 13 daughters of Daksha who were given to Dharma are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Medha, Titiksha, Rhi, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave birth to Shubha, Maitri produced Prasada, Daya gave birth to Abhaya, Shanti gave birth to Sukha, Tushti gave birth to Muda, Pushti gave birth to Smaya,
Smaya.
Kriya gave birth to Yoga, Smaya. Kriya gave birth to Yoga, Unnati gave birth to Darpa, Buddhi gave birth to Artha, Meda gave birth to Smriti, Titiksha gave birth to Kshema, and Ri gave birth to
Prashraya.
Prashraya.
So actually all these are
Prashraya.
different qualities. Correct? All these are different qualities. Some of them could be demonic also. But actually, this is how all these came into being actually. So, as we were saying that these were all, so these 13 were married to Dharma. So, all these are like the qualities of Dharma. All these descendants, the sons, are all like different qualities of Dharma. Okay, go ahead.
Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Sri Naranarayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, 53.
Vijay, one question.
Ah.
This is happening right now in Satyuga, na, bro?
Yes, this could be, this must be in Satyuga.
So, just wanted to understand this Ravana, how he appeared in Satyuga. It should be in Treta Yuga.
No, the descendants are being told, it is not said that they appeared immediately.
Okay.
So he's just giving a list. He's saying from this one came. It does not mean that they immediately came. All right, no?
Yes. There should be so much long gap then.
Yes. He's just giving a list.
Okay. Then Prabhuji, that they didn't have offspring for so long time, for one yuga. for one yuga, this the parents of Ravana then seems like for one yuga there were no offsprings. It seems like a long time.
So we don't know exactly what's the time gap, na? So first of all, so there is this Pulastya, and then Pulastya is marrying one of these daughters, and then giving birth to Vishrava, correct?
Yes,
So
Swami.
then when that took place, and then there has to be some time gap, no? Then this Vishrava, the son, then he has to grow up, no?
Yes, Swami.
So he has to grow up, then he has to get married to those two wives. So first wife, then Kuvera. So all this is going to take time. And those days people lived for thousands of years.
Yes, Swami.
Okay? Okay, next. 53.
You're offline on.
Who's reading?
On the occasion of appearance of Naranarayana, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind becomes tranquil. Tranquil. And thus, in all directions, the air, the rivers in the mountains becomes pleasant. In the heavenly planets, winds begin to play, and this showered flower from the sky, and the specified sages chanted the Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven known as the Gandharvas, Kinnaras sang, the beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets dances. In this way, at the time of appearance of Naranarayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respective prayers.
Next.
The demigods said, "Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him, as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Naranarayan Rishi in the house of Dharma."
So all the devtas, they're offering prayers. So here Prabhupada is, because said, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation. So therefore Prabhupada is talking about the universal form. Because the universe is not different from the Lord, isn't it? That's the universal form. The universal form of the Lord is the cosmic manifestation, which is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then he's describing something about that universal form. Okay. And further down, so the material varieties may be temporary, but they're not false. They are reflection of the spiritual varieties. Okay, so therefore, the Mayavadis say, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. So this is how we refute that philosophy. They cannot be Mithya. Why? Yes, because they are coming from Krishna. So therefore they cannot be false, but they are temporary. And they are reflections of spiritual varieties. Because we know material world is reflection of the spiritual world. So here the word Prati Chakshanaya, there are varieties, announces the glories of the Supreme Personality of God, is appeared as Narayan Rishi and is the origin of all varieties of material nature. Okay, 57.
Let that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is understood by truly authorized Vedic literature and who has created peace and prosperity to destroy all calamities of the created world, be kind enough to bestow his glance upon the demigods. His merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune.
So here, so they're praying that the Supreme Lord destroy all the calamities of this world and bestow his glance, because by that glance there can be all good fortune. So Prabhupada is talking about how the Supreme Lord is the origin of the cosmic manifestation, and it's very difficult to find the origin of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material scientists conclude that nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestations. But from Shastra, authentic literature like Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures, we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how to maintain the regular procedures of the cosmic manifestation to be visible to the eyes of persons who are in the mode of goodness, the Lord appears. Right. So two important verses in Bhagavad Gita which state that the Lord is the cause of everything. Which are they? Okay, one is Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, Matta Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajanti Mam Buddha Bhavas. And the other one? Okay, Maya Dekshana Prakriti Syuti Sushararam. And? Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya Mai Sarvam Idam Protam Sutre Mani Gana Iva. So, Matta Parataram Na Anya, there is no truth superior to me, means that the Supreme Lord is the creator of everything. And by stating that, Mai Sarvam Idam Protam means what? Yes, that means he is the maintainer. He enters into everything and he maintains everything, just like, yes, the thread maintains the pearls, right? Because the thread is there, all the pearls are maintained. So similarly, because the Lord has entered into everything, everything is maintained within the universe. But the point is that a good garland or a necklace, they're all maintained by the thread, but yes, the thread is invisible. If the thread is visible, then it's not a good garland, right? A good garland, the thread is not visible. So similarly in this world, Krishna is maintaining everything, but he remains invisible. And that is why people say, where is God? Okay, so in this way the Devatas offered their prayers to Narayana Rishi. Next. 58.
O Vidura, thus the demigods worshipped with prayers the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing as the says Naranarayan. Lord glanced upon them with mercy and departed for Gandhamadana hill.
Next.
That Naranarayan Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yatu and Kuru in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna respectively to mitigate the burden of the world.
Yes, so the same Narayana Rishi appeared as Krishna and Arjuna. 60.
The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Swaha 3 children named Pavaka, Pavaman and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblation offered to the fire of sacrifice.
So this is, as Prabhupada writes, after describing the descendants of the 13 wives of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha and Prasuti. So those were the 13 daughters. Maitra now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha. So this is the 14th daughter of Daksha, and that is Swaha. And she had these 3 sons.
From those 3 sons, another 45 descendants were generated, who are also fire gods. The total number of fire gods is therefore 49, including the father and the grandfather.
So anyway, just on this point of Narayana Rishi and Krishna and Arjuna, so Vishnu Thakur is quoting from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and he says that, so Narayana, the expansions of Vishnu, entered Krishna and Arjuna at the end of Dwapar Yuga. So that means they are amshas. The amshas have entered. So the amshas of Narayana entered Krishna and Arjuna. Of course, Krishna is the source of all expansions. But then, as we know that when he comes into this world, then he appears as an Amsha of Vishnu. But actually he is not Amsha, he is Amshi. He is the source of all the Amshas. But when he comes into this world, then he comes as expansion of Vishnu. And that is why in the list of incarnations he is also included. In the 3rd chapter, 1st canto, list of incarnations. So the 19th incarnation, Shukdev Goswami is describing, Sutta Goswami is describing as Krishna. So, because he comes into this material world through Vishnu, but he is the source. And of course, an Amsha definitely entered Arjuna. Okay, so then from these, the fire gods, their descendants from Swaha. Swaha married whom? Agni. Okay, Swaha is who? Daughter of Daksha. So what is being described is daughters of Daksha and Prasuti. How many daughters total? 16. So 13 were given to Dharma. One named Swaha, that's the 14th, is given to Agni. So from Agni there were 3 sons and then further 45. And in this way the total descendants became 49.
Prabhuji,
So 49 different demigods. Huh?
with this Krishna is not the Swayam Krishna, no? Who appears once in a day of Brahma. The Nar-Narayan Rishi Amsha.
Yes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna in a self-same form comes only once in a day of Brahma.
Okay.
Yes, other times it could be an Amsha.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 62.
These 49 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in the Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist Brahmanas.
Okay, so they get the offerings. Next.
The Agniswatas, the Barhishadas, Agnishwatas, the Barhishadas, the Saumyas, and the Ajyapas are the Pitas. They are either Sagnika or Niragnik. The wife of all these Pitas is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. Swadha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot 2 daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge.
Okay. So now the 16th daughter of Daksha.
So the 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband. The reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power.
Okay, so Maitreya Rishi speaks only this much about the 16th daughter, that is Sati, who married Shiva, but did not have children. But of course, Vidura is not satisfied by the short description, and that is how, from the next chapter, the entire pastime expands. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 4th canto, 1st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Okay, so I think we can take a break for today. We'll continue tomorrow, 2nd chapter. Daksha curses Lord Shiva. Today it seems some of you had come from yatra and tired, huh? Okay, fine. So we'll continue tomorrow. So Daksha Shiva pastime. Of course, pastime, most of us know the pastime. We will try to focus on some important themes and lessons from the pastime. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.